Welcome back to Simply Money. Today we're going to be looking at an interesting topic, the impact of compound interest, but not just the impact in itself, but how much it takes and how long it takes to reach that magical milestone of $1 million. Most Americans believe they need $1 million saved in retirement to retire comfortably. We can get into that in another video because for some people they're going to need far more than $1 million, but for many they don't need that much. And a big part of that's because you get control of your finances. Let's take a look at how long it takes with various deposits to reach $1 million. We often hear that time is money. And with finances, it's no truer. We're going to look at how long it takes to reach $1 million with varying deposits. We're going to use a realistic inflation-adjusted rate of 7% return because a good index fund has averaged 10 to 12% return prior to inflation adjustment. So let's look at 7% returns over different time frames with different amounts invested. How long will it take us to reach $1 million? Our first investor, the savvy investor, is going to look at $100 a month. How long will it take investing $100 a month to reach $1 million? Drum roll. 47 years. I know that seems like an overwhelming amount of time, but think about it. If you're 20 years old and you put $25 a week into an index fund, into a savings, when you're ready to retire, you'll have $1 million. But get a hold of this. You will have only invested $53,000. The other $943,000 would have been from interest. That's the power of time compounding. So you're making the smallest investment because you started early. It is a long time, 47 years. But if you're young, you have time on your side. Okay, the second scenario, we're going to look at the dedicated saver. They're putting in $200 a month. Now, this doubling of the amount that they're depositing reduces the number of years from 47 down to 35 years to reach the $1 million mark. So if you invest $200 a month for 35 years, you'll reach the $1 million mark. That's 12 years sooner. The other thing is the compounding is still working tremendously on your behalf because now you have deposited $84,000 over those 35 years, but you have earned $916,000 of interest. Again, the power of compounding because of time. Now, scenario number 3 is the strategic investor. In this scenario, the individual is investing $500 a month. Now, the time it will reach to hit that milestone of $1 million is 28 years. Again, this is a reduction of 7 years based on the compounding. And here again is the good news. 28 years of investing $500 a month to reach $1 million. You have invested $168,000, but you have earned $132,000 of interest. Again, demonstrating the great impact of compound interest. So perhaps you got a little bit later start. Maybe you had some hiccups earlier on and you weren't able to start investing the $100 a month. You can go to $500 a month as you're a little bit older. Maybe your income has increased. Maybe you've reduced your debt. Maybe you've followed these strategies and done the snowball debt method of getting financially free. Now you can increase your investing to $500 a month. That will get you to $1 million in 28 years. Now let's take a look at an ambitious achiever. In this scenario, they're investing $1,000 a month, and it will take 22 years to reach the milestone of $1 million. For a lot of people, $1,000 a month may be out of reach. But for those who have reduced their debt, for those who have eliminated their debt and removed that extra burden, it loosens up the ability to invest more. So perhaps you're a dual income family, or perhaps you're a little bit higher earner. You can look at getting out of debt and investing more. $1,000 a month in 22 years, you'll hit that $1 million mark with compound interest working for you. Now we're going to look at a little bit more extreme examples. We're going to look at the high caliber achiever here. This is a person investing $2,000 a month, and when will they achieve $1 million milestone? It would take on average 17 years for them to reach that by depositing $2,000 a month into an investment account. Again, this is achievable Because if you're eliminating debt, if you're paying off your home, that loosens up that amount of money that you can now invest. And that's why being strategic, having a game plan, and setting goals can set you up in a way that you can begin to make these increased amounts toward investment. Now, if this is out of your reach, even if you're debt-free, I understand. Don't be discouraged. Even if you're at $100 or $200 or $500 a month, reaching that $1 million milestone isn't out of reach. But even better, in a moment, I'm going to show you why that's not so important. But let's look at one more example. Our final example is maybe a little bit extreme for some people, but it is achievable for many people. Those who are higher income earners who can put $5,000 a month into a retirement investment account. In 12 years, they can hit the milestone of $1 million. That is very achievable for a lot of people if they get themselves debt-free, if they follow a strategic plan. Because the money that they're spending paying on debt and interest toward their bank's retirement and their bank's well-being and their bank's financial freedom, they can be putting toward their own. So this dynamic dynamo, though, has one thing that the early investor doesn't. They don't have time working for them. Perhaps you're older. Perhaps you're in your 40s or 50s, maybe even in your 60s, and you've gotten a late start, but you have the income available now because you've made a strategic plan to get out of debt, to pay off your consumer debt, pay off your house, and now you're going whole hog into this thing and you're going to invest as much as you can. And 12 years is not that far off to hit that $1 million milestone. By diverting all those funds that used to go to debt into investments, you can reduce your time to financial freedom tremendously. Let's look at one final thing about this example. They would have had invested $720,000 of their own dollars, and they would have earned $280,000 of interest over that 12 years. See the difference? How time is your friend? There is no greater time to invest than now because every day counts toward that compounding. But here's the great news. You may not need $1 million. If you get yourself onto a budget and you reduce your wasteful spending and you learn how to deal with lifestyle creep, which we've talked about in another video, then you can reduce the amount you need to live on to be financially free. You have to find what is your goal and how much will you need. Many people enter retirement and they need a large income stream because they continue to carry an exorbitant amount of debt, maybe even a mortgage still. For some, they have other second homes that they're still mortgaged on. Maybe they've gone and followed the retail gurus saying that you need to arbitrage or leverage yourself, and so you have all these rentals that you're trying to pay off, and maybe it wasn't as smooth as they promised. Maybe your tenants didn't pay you. Maybe there was damage to them. Maybe you're not getting the occupancy that you desired, and so it's costing you money instead of making you that free income flow that they talk about. I'm all for investing in real estate, but you should be paying cash for it. Don't leverage your future in the hopes that you're going to have this magical stream of income. As we wrap this up, I want to illustrate the power of compounding due to time. Many of you are familiar with Warren Buffett. He is well known for his investment strategies. His returns are phenomenal. But the biggest thing that he's had working for him is time. Yes, he's an older gentleman. He's in his 90s. But the fact that he started investing at such an early age and he was able to continue to invest and live a very modest lifestyle. When he made his millions and even billions, he never upgraded to the mansions. He still lives in a modest house. He still drives a modest car. And he made 90% of his wealth since he turned 65. Out of his $120 billion, 108 of it has been accumulated from compound interest since turning 65, because time is now exponentially growing it for him. That's the key. Give yourself as much time as possible. Start now. Watch some of the other videos on how to get on a budget, how to create a plan. I'll put some of those links below. I hope this is helpful for you. I hope it encourages you that it's not too late. And if you're young, to start now, and you can be on the road to financial independence and freedom. Start today.